Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime is considered by many to be one of the greatest concept albums of all time. Released in 1988, it tells the story of a junkie named Nicky who was brainwashed by a revolutionary group to assassinate corrupt politicians. The album was a commercial and critical success, but was it really that good? First, a quick history of Operation Mindcrime. This is their third studio album, not counting the EP. It came after The Warning and Rage for Order, was released on May 3rd, 1988, so it's celebrating its 35th anniversary. It's a concept album, and some have even called it a rock opera. I'm not going to tell the entire story, but basically it's about a guy named Nicky. He's a drug addict, and he gets mixed up with his revolutionary group, and they want him to assassinate some political leaders. That's the story in a nutshell. As far as the charts go, it did pretty well. I just did a video on Poison's Open Up and Say Ah. That one was actually a lot more popular than this. This album reached number 50 on the Billboard 200. It had two singles, Eyes of a Stranger and I Don't Believe in Love, charting in the United States, and it was certified platinum. Again, not as big as the other albums I was talking about in this series, those being Aerosmith's Get a Grip and Poison's Open Up and Say Ah, but for the type of album it was, I think it did pretty well. They did a sequel which was released in 2006. I'm not even going to get into that. A lot of people say it's very bad anyway. The album basically got high scores across the board. I'm seeing everything being either a 4 or a 4.5 out of 5 or a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. So to quote Martin Popoff, he said, the involved, heavy-handed storytelling was paired with the band's most urgent upfront metal display since the Queensryche EP, which he considered quite an accomplishment for a concept record wrapped up in drugs and religion. So I'm going to talk about the songs now. I'm not going to mention the interludes, or I will briefly. I'm just going to go through the main songs mostly, track by track. I'm going to let you know how I feel listening to this album after some time. And just letting you know, it's been a while since I've listened to this album. So the first real song is called Anarchy X. At least that's when you hear the band playing. My first impression listening to this album again, the production is just very good. I can hear the guitars, I can hear the bass guitar, I hear everything very well. The song has lots of samples of crowds cheering. That kind of like adds to this. It sets the tone for what's to come. The first real song is Revolution Calling. Sounds very good. It has a slow building intro that goes right to the main guitar riff. So far, the song sounds more like late 80s glam metal as opposed to progressive metal. What I like about this song is it's very catchy. It's very accessible to the listener. You don't have to be a heavy metal fan. I think anybody can appreciate this type of music. And the guitar solos are very good. One thing I will be commenting on throughout this album is that it's not really as progressive as they labeled it to be. I mean, a band like Dream Theater, I would say, is more progressive, but I'll talk more about that later. The next song, Operation Mindcrime, is very good. It starts with, like, you hear the phone call, then a few seconds of that skit, and then it kind of helps you get into the song. So the song is heavier, it's darker, has some really cool, almost like doom metal, like slow riffs in the beginning. Throughout the song, you do hear the bass guitar very well, as I said before, and I really like that about this album. The next song is called Speak. It's a very memorable song. I think it's more of a traditional heavy metal song, or even closer to glam metal. I think it's classic Queensryche. I like the darkness of the verse section and the catchiness of the chorus. I guess that's a good way to describe most of the songs on this album. Jeff Tate's vocals were at his peak during this album. You can hear how he goes seamlessly from like the high range to that low baritone style. He does it throughout all the songs. The next song is Spreading the Disease. This is a really good deep cut. It has a really cool drum intro, kind of builds up to the first verse where Jeff Tate sings in a lower range. It has all the elements of what you would expect from Queensryche during this point in their career. It's a very catchy and memorable song. I think the song has more of those progressive metal elements that the band has been known for, mostly with their first two albums and their EP. Has a slower breakdown, it has different drum beats throughout the song, and I think it's actually one of the best deep cuts. Next is The Mission, and this is really good because it starts with a slow building intro with clean guitars playing arpeggiated chords, and it continues into more of a melodic song. When I went back to listen to this, it reminded me a lot of like symphonic metal, maybe something like Nightwish. It had that big and epic production, a very big sound. That's what I got from listening to this again. Next is Sweet Sister Mary. Song is almost 11 minutes long. I think this is the one song in the album where you can call it like a true progressive heavy metal song. It has so many different sections. It really shows off the band's talent. What I like about this song is that it seems like a scene from an opera, like I said before. This is considered to be a rock opera, and it has like different characters singing different verses. And it really helps you get into the storyline. And the song is very dark and eerie. They do a lot of that chanting in Latin, and the kind of music you hear in movies like The Exorcist or The Omen. It's the kind of music that kind of sends chills up your spine, and that's what I really like about the song. So the next song is called The Needle Lies. This one's really good. I like the drum intro. I like the opening guitar riffs, and this is more of like a traditional heavy metal song. I think more like a Judas Priest type of song. It has one of the best breakdowns on the album. You have like the heavy guitar riff. It goes right into this isolated like drum part, and that comes in like halfway through the song. Then there's a short song called Electric Requiem. It's mostly instrumental. It's about like a minute and a half long. Again, it feels like a scene from a movie. It's that feeling you get while watching a suspense movie. Next is Breaking the Silence, and this one was very good. I felt it had more of an influence from like traditional heavy metal or glam metal, like that type of sound. It's a type of band that could be either one or the other. Maybe like something like the band Docking. Like I really like how they went back and forth with like the heavy power chords and the clean guitars in the verse section. It's followed up with I Don't Believe in Love. I think this is one of the most memorable songs in the album. Another one that has that classic Queensryche sound. It's not really that much of a progressive rock song. It's more of that traditional heavy metal. It's very melodic. It's memorable. It's a stick in your head type of song. And if I haven't mentioned it already, I have mentioned it like 3 times. But the bass playing on this album is like really good. I keep repeating that over and over because I really love the bass on this album. And it goes into a 1-minute instrumental called Waiting for 22. It's very good. It's kind of like a Pink Floyd type of song, something like From the Wall, like one of those types of interludes. Then it goes into another short song or interlude, whatever you want to call it, called Empty Room. This one does a really good job of like setting the scene. You hear like that ticking clock, that gloomy atmosphere. It's just really good. The final song, Eyes of a Stranger. This is one of the big hits from the album. I think it was the only single that actually charted in the top 40 single chart. It's a good song. It's catchy. It's very accessible. It's radio friendly. You know, the kind of song you can hear on mainstream radio back in the late 80s. In conclusion, to answer the question, does it hold up after all these years? And the answer is yes. The album is a masterpiece. My only comment is that it's not really much of a progressive metal album. I would say an album like Images and Words by Dream Theater is more of a progressive metal album. That one came out 4 years after this. I feel this album works more as a rock opera. I think that's where this album like really shines. Jeff Tate's voice was in top form when he recorded this. It's an album that just brings me back. I listened to this album a lot when I was a teenager, and listening to it again, I realized I had like all of these lyrics memorized. Like I could have been like singing along to all these songs, and that doesn't happen a lot with me. I'm not the kind of person who remembers lyrics a lot. But that's what I have to say about this. This is a 10 out of 10 album. It's a masterpiece. It's as good as I remember. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Thanks for watching. And please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Check out this video right here. I will see you in the next one.